warroomsports.com. Get that mobile app.
Basketball fans, what's going on out there? And welcome to another edition of Court Vision, brought to you as usual by War Room Sports in conjunction with the Sports Kings. I'm Dev, I'm one of your hosts, and I'm at the round table today with half of the crew. We got Frank from the Sports Kings. What up, Frank?
Yo, Carlos Boozer, I know that you're listening because the Lakers stink. You got nothing better to do. Yo, let me get that spray paint thing you got going on.
And we got B. Austin of War Room Sports. What up, B?
Ladies. I'll be back to moderating later. Just listen to my opinions right now.
You know they like to hear your voice, man. The Quiet Storm, B. Austin, they like that, man.
Take your panties off.
The panties off. All right, so the NBA, we're past the All-Star break. We're going into the final stretch. Basketball is starting to mean something. The games are actually getting better, more competitive. Russell Westbrook is playing lights out and taking the league by storm. But let's start this one off talking about a few injuries. And the latest breaking injury, Portland Trailblazers, Wes Matthews ruptured his Achilles. The Blazers, they're having a pretty good season at this point. How big of an impact do you guys think that this injury, because he's done for the season, but how big of an impact do you guys think this will have on the Blazers and their chances to come out of the West?
It will have an impact with regards to team chemistry because, Wesley Matthews was a key cog to that kind of.
No, you said like Wesley Matthews. I was messing with you.
Get Mike Tyson on the show.
Shout out to Mike Tyson, yo. Come on. Wes Matthews is a key cog to what they do. A lot of what you see, cliche, doesn't go into the stat sheet or the scores column, but right before you get to lockdown defender, you have him. I mean, he's a good defensive player. He's a 3-and-D guy, as they say, and a glue guy. But the good news for Portland is they were able to acquire Aaron Aflalo, who's actually probably 2 steps better because Aaron Aflalo is not the type of guy that you want as your primary guy, like your number one guy on your team. But he is a good second and a pretty damn good third option in terms of scoring. And he gives you the same thing defensively, can get to the rack a little bit better, not as stiff, more of a scorer than Wesley Matthews is. You can get a 20 to 25 point game on a weekly basis out of Aaron Aflalo versus Wesley Matthews, who takes probably 3 years to get 30. So I think they'll be all right. I think that was a good move. Move for them.
I agree wholeheartedly with what B. Austin said. If I were to describe Wesley Matthews as a player, I would describe him as a poor man's Aaron Aflalo. That's how I would describe him. So the fact that you have Aaron Aflalo on your team, obviously that you acquired him, is a huge, if they didn't have Aaron Aflalo, then it would be a huge problem for them because there's not another guy on that roster that can match what Wes Matthews does for them before Aaron Aflalo. But now that you have Aflalo, it becomes much less of an issue. They were having an issue to begin with. I mean, they still have a major issue, which is that Nicholas Batum apparently became a guy that doesn't even belong in the NBA anymore. It seems like he's just complete trash now. But they had an issue when they acquired Aflalo, where their lineup at the end of games probably had to include both Robin Lopez and LaMarcus Aldridge because Robin Lopez is probably their defender, to defend the paint. But then one of those guys has to be benched because you're going to play Lillard, Matthews, Aflalo, and then Batum's on the bench, so now that kind of solves their problem. So now they have their closing 5 because without Matthews, you got Aflalo, you got Lillard, you got Batum, and then you have the front court. So that was a problem that they had going in, and now it's kind of solved, unfortunately, through injury. But, I mean, this is why you acquire guys. This is why you have depth in case one of these guys goes down because the NBA, as we've seen, especially this year, is the injuries are just terrible.
Yeah. Wesley better watch out because his job could be in jeopardy.
The funny thing is, the ironic thing is, like if you look at what Aflalo was doing in Denver statistically, in comparison to what Wesley Matthews was doing as a starter on this Portland team. Like, their numbers are damn near identical this season.
True.
So you guys are right.
And Denver was a complete mess.
Right. So it's like plug and play at this point. That I think Aflalo was a great pickup because, you know, in my opinion, you have almost the same type of guy. And like you guys said, Aflalo is probably going to give you even a little more on the defensive end. But, you know, offensively, they shouldn't miss a beat, you know, with Aflalo stepping in for Wes Matthews. So this is a Portland team who's currently third in the conference. I believe their record is, 41-19. So, you know, they're right up there, and they're battling as one of the top teams in the West. And I think they're lucky enough with that late acquisition to be able to keep going without missing a beat, just like you guys said.
I'm gonna give Batum the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna say he's gonna round into form come playoff time, because for the first half of the season, like Frank said, like, he literally looked like he forgot how to play basketball. Like, he was a tall dude. He's just balling out there.
All right, so sticking with this injury theme, like the injury bug has hit Chicago again. We all know Jimmy Butler now is out. His timetable is 4 to 6 weeks with a sprained elbow. You put that on top of Derrick Rose with the meniscus tear. The GM actually said that Derrick Rose should be back in 4 to 6 weeks. I pretty much kind of think he was saying that publicly to put some pressure on Derrick Rose, because we know Derrick Rose isn't the rush back type. Mm-hmm. How do you think the Bulls, I mean, they're playing in a lesser conference, in the Eastern Conference, but do you guys think that, you know, on top of Derrick Rose, you know, their second best scorer, basically Jimmy Butler, actually
he's their best
leading scorer, going out for maybe 6 weeks as well, do you guys think that they'll miss a beat even in the Eastern Conference?
Yes.
They just came off a big win against OKC.
I mean, I think they might slip. I think they might slip a little bit, but to be honest, and it sounds terrible to say, they're used to this by now. They're used to playing undermanned. They've been doing it for 3 years now, so it's not like they just they revert back to Point Noah, you know, potential MVP candidate. But you know, now you have Pau Gasol. You know, the problem before, when Rose was out and then before Butler was a scorer, you know, is that once Rose went out, they didn't have anybody that could create, that can score the ball just alone. I mean, Noah can't. He can create plays for other people, maybe get a quick bucket or two, but you don't have a guy you could just throw it in. But now you have Pau Gasol. You can throw Pau Gasol the ball and say, we need a bucket, Pau, and then he can get you a bucket. That's what they were lacking prior years, so they have that now. I mean, I'm sure they'll still slip because talent-wise, they just don't have as much talent as they did, you know, before Rose and Butler went out, obviously. And the guys that they have backing them up aren't quite as good as they were back then. You don't have DJ Augustine. You have Aaron Brooks, who is a good player, but he's nowhere near where DJ Augustine is as a player. But, I mean, I think they'll miss a step, but I don't think that they're going to be terrible or by any means doomed because of this.
I see them sliding two spots maybe in the seeding. They are a top 4 team with their leading scorer and best player, Jimmy Butler. Once Jimmy Butler's out of that equation, and you're not sure how he comes back even from an injury like that, I see them falling maybe 2, maybe 3. They're built on defense and pride, and they take those things seriously, and that will always put you in a position in a weak conference like the East to be successful and be able to play playoff basketball. And you're right, having Pau Gasol to get buckets and putting him in a position where he's the primary, they'll be all right. But Derrick Rose is going to come back. The way his game is designed in the playoffs, I'm gonna give him.
I thought the same thing.
I'm gonna say he's gonna come back. But here's the thing: I don't expect to get a whole hell of a lot out of him, because people keep. When I look at Derrick Rose, athletically, I'm impressed with his recovery efforts. But the thing that really gets me is IQ-wise and skill-wise, I don't think he's any better. So I think if you diminish his athleticism, his skill and his IQ haven't grown to a point where they can compensate for the loss in athleticism, which takes him to a place where he's not as valuable as even really a Jimmy Butler is. So now you got Jimmy. Jimmy's in his first breakout season. How's he going to handle being sidelined for 4 to 6 weeks? And it's a shooting elbow, I believe. I see that being really rough for them because he could come back and not be the same Jimmy Butler. Not because he's not capable, but just because of that in-game or that in-season type of injury and that much time missed. So I think this could be a big deal for them.
What you say about Rose is unfortunate because when you miss that amount of time, like you pretty much need to come back as a smarter player because you should basically have come to grips by now with the fact that you might not be able to depend on your body being what you expect it to be. Right. So you have to make yourself a smarter player. Maybe
would you agree?
Because he's not that old, he's not thinking in that mindset.
Exactly.
But his body has to force him to start thinking like that. What you guys are saying, I've been saying that as well. I think this year, with the acquisitions they made, especially Pau Gasol, I think the Bulls were in a better position than they've been in the past to play without Rose. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Butler was never this good in the first place. So, I mean, you would figure that it would be not easy, but, they would be able to make it without him as well. However, with him having a breakout season like that, it's really unfortunate for this team that, anytime they become the favorites to maybe come out of the East, they keep having to deal with all of these setbacks. Now, I never thought of it in terms of how many spots they would slip, but after B. Austin said 2, looking at the standings, I think that's pretty much a done deal because the 3 and 4 team is Toronto and Cleveland, and they're only a half a game up on those cats anyway.
Yeah, but
I don't see them slipping 3 because Washington, who we're going to talk about later, is playing like trash right now. They lost, 7 of their last 8?
Yeah, they're worse than the Sixers.
Milwaukee, of course, made trades that shook up the chemistry that they already had going. So I don't see them slipping 3 if they slip at all. Chicago under Tibbs, they've always been a resilient team. That's why it's very hard for me to understand how we're talking about Thibodeau's job being on the line every other week. But hey, that's the Chicago problem. If that's what they want to do, he's such a great coach. Then
there's about 28 other teams that are hoping that Chicago fires Thibodeau. Aside from like Popovich, aside from the Spurs, I bet you every other team is like, please fire this guy so we can hire him immediately.
Yeah, so I don't think he's going to have a problem landing somewhere else if they end up doing that. I just don't see how people think it's his fault. Like, they have the worst luck. And
I bet you Sam Presti is like calling Chicago and like leaking stories intentionally for Tibbs to get fired so he can just like tell Scott Brooks, hey, you got to go. Like, day up. Same day, like, you got to go. I'm sorry. We found somebody else.
You guys realize that both of my finals picks, have been ravaged with injuries. It's my excuse right now. Chicago and OKC. I'm still, I'm sticking with it, especially OKC.
You just giving yourself
they get excuse. Dangerous, no matter what seed they get in. With Russ playing like that, if KD can come back. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about the Bulls. And I agree with you guys. They're good enough to, maybe keep pace until these guys come back. The question is, especially with Derrick Rose, is he coming back?
Right.
Because my opinion is that the GM put that out there maybe without Derrick Rose's permission, just to maybe motivate him a little bit or put pressure on him to come back this time because their team is built to win right now. So they need all hands on deck.
Yeah, I did want to touch a little bit on what you guys said about D Rose, and I just absolutely agree. I think it's great points. And the point that you make about his age is so crucial because we've seen stars in this league just play on their athleticism for the first part of their career. Right, you even saw it with LeBron. LeBron has just started to mold his game in the last couple of years to become a post-up player, become more of a passer. But
to make the game easier.
Career, he was just better than everybody because he was faster and he was stronger, and that's what Derrick Rose had going for him. And it's just so unfortunate that he has to adjust so early in his career because of his injuries. And like you said, Dev, that mindset is just not there. When you're a young guy, you're thinking, I'll just jump higher than you for now, and then I'll figure it out later. I'll figure it out when I can't jump as high. But unfortunately, that came a lot quicker for Derrick Rose than it probably should have.
And in the case of some of those guys, they say, I'll just jump and I'll figure out what I'm going to do when I'm in the air. I don't really know what I'm going to do when I'm up there. And LeBron has figured out how to take, the middle of the season off and relax and take vacations.
2 weeks.
He's learned how to shack it.
He's learned how to, he's learned how to get
shacking a fool out there. All right, so sticking with the East, and we're talking about seeding and who's going to slip and who's going to do this. The Washington Wizards were getting a lot of praise prior to the season. In the beginning of the season, when they were on a pretty good run, the team looked like they were going to do something. I'm not going to front. I was never that big of a believer. I knew that they were an upper echelon team in the Eastern Conference because, frankly, that's not hard to be.
But still.
But even me, who wasn't a believer, just didn't think that they were as bad as what they're playing, is how they're playing now. They've dropped like 7 of their last 8. I believe maybe they've won 3 of their last 11, something crazy like that. What do you guys see as being the problem in Washington right now?
They got rid of my man Andre Miller and brought in Ramon Sessions.
This kid started before that.
Yeah, I think the problem for them has been inconsistency. Beal has been in and out of the lineup. Obviously, that's a huge thing. But I think another thing is that when you have a superstar like John Wall, you have to kind of let him make his mistakes too in becoming a superstar. So sometimes you give him the ball too much. Maybe he doesn't make, maybe he makes a stupid play, but instead of saying, okay, you made a stupid play, we got to win this game. We're going to go to Pierce. We're going to go to Paul Pierce now. You still give John Wall the ball because he's your guy. So sometimes you got to work through the mistakes a little bit, and your team maybe overall suffers. Though I think Wall has had an incredible season. I think he's a minor part of the problem, but I think more so is just the inconsistency. And I said this before the season, with those big men, with Nene and Gortat, how much of that, especially Nene for me, how much of that was just a fluke, and how much of that was just Nene focused, knowing that the big lights are on. He's been like that his whole career. You'll have a 5-game stretch where Nene looks, you're like, how is this guy not on a max deal, or how is this guy, not a super
all-star? Yeah.
And then other games, you look at the stat sheet and he's got like 4 and 4, and you're like, who is this guy? Why is this guy starting in the league? So it's a big problem to address, and especially with the transition of the NBA to a small ball, like running gun kind of lineup. Nene and Gortat really don't fit. You can't have that kind of lineup, especially with Paul Pierce at 3. He's not running up and down the court either. So you have an identity problem with this team, and I think that's what's really coming across on the court.
I think, Frank, you bringing up the word inconsistent and then bringing up the big, because I think you hit it right on the head. I think the bigs on this team are the most inconsistent part of the team. Besides maybe the health of a Bradley Beal. Like Gortat and Nene in the beginning of the season, I listened to a lot of sports talk in Washington. They were supposed to be strengths of this team, but you can't depend on them every night, so that can't possibly be a strength. Otto Porter, like, he's just a dude at this point. he's not what we thought he was. Maybe he's what they thought he was his rookie year when he didn't do much. But you thought he was going to come on, and
he's getting major minutes too.
He's not a bum, but he's not a star, just a dude. So, and can we put to bed this debate now? At the beginning of the season, we're debating, who's the best backcourt in the league. Is it fair to put it to bed since Bradley Beal has been down for a while, or is Splash Brothers just?
Oh yeah,
it's fair.
It's in a coma in a vegetative state. It's just brain dead. You can keep it on the simulator if you want, but
it's not John Wall's fault, and it's not even really Bradley Beal's fault. But they just not there, man. And
right.
It's funny you brought up the best point, and I'm just going to add on to the inconsistency in the front court. Nene is like a 97 Bentley with a fresh paint job. From a distance,
Chrysler 300 engine.
You just see it, and you're like, yo, that's a Bentley. But the closer you get, you see the dings, you see the scratches, you see where they're trying to get you.
The Chrysler symbol.
You see the Chrysler symbol. And you're right, it's not a Bentley, it's just a 300. So, that's Nene. He will fool you. He has fooled me many times because I pay attention to Nene. I want him to be good. I want him to be better than he is. But it's not even just the health thing because I'll give the excuse. He's just not. If he played 82 games and he stayed healthy, he'd be busting y'all. But even in the 60 games that you're going to get out of him,
he kept his last name.
Only if he kept his right nut. No, but he's only going to give you about 15 to 20 of those wow games, and then the rest are going to be him collecting a paycheck.
I think that's the story of his career, though, not just his season.
Exactly. Yeah, that's who he is.
That's a career. That's who he is.
Right. It becomes a point where you got to say, like, this is who this guy is. He's not a young guy anymore where you can say, all right, he's going to blossom, he's going to change. No, this is that's who he is.
Martin is a good starter on a team where he's the fourth or fifth option, maybe even the sixth option. He's not a guy you can focus on. And Paul Pierce, the only reason why we don't talk about the truth, he has aged pretty gracefully. And Kevin Garnett looks so bad that you don't really pay attention to the truth falling off. Yeah, the Paul falling off. But
now that they're separate,
there's no way that Otto Porter should get that many minutes because the difference between me and Otto Porter is only height. Like Otto Porter is not really an NBA player. He's not. He's just a tall guy that runs fast. He runs the floor. He blows 15 and 16 footers, but he keeps taking them.
You know why Otto Porter gets so many minutes on that team is because that team lacks athleticism so desperately that anybody that can catch an alley-oop like he can or that can run the floor with John Wall, on the other side of the wing, like they'll give that guy 15 minutes a game just hoping that John Wall's going to get on 3 fast breaks and he's going to get 3 easy buckets out of it, But you're right, he can't do anything aside from that.
He go as wide as you can and just run, John. Keep the ball, don't pass that.
One factor midway through this collapse that people might not give any credit to, and they might even laugh when I say it, but Chris Humphries going down is not a small deal either.
Oh, he balls.
He's a little more consistent off the bench than some of the bigs that they already got out there. So
he balls.
Him going down
most of the season, he was
the calls either.
He's played better than Nene when he was in the lineup. Most of the season. When Nene was out, Humphries gave him more production at that position than Nene gave him when he came back.
Chris Kardashian, he plays his part.
Getting back at Kim the best way he knows how. Wizard fans, I know you guys are going to shoot at us in the comment section, and that's okay. We could take it. More than likely, we're smarter than you. But I will say this: I'm still a huge John Wall supporter. And my statement stands, within the next 3 years, he will be the best point guard in the world.
The good news for the Wizards is that they're definitely, obviously, going to make the playoffs, and you could very easily have a same 7-game stretch that they had against the Bulls, or they beat them in 5 games. You could have Nene just dominate for 5 games. That could happen. That could very easily happen again because that's who he is. But you just can't count. You can't count on it.
And that John Wall sentiment, I can agree with that, actually. And it's not – I think he'll improve and he is that good. But at the same time, I don't think it'll be all him. Like, if you're going to say he's going to be the best point guard in the league in 3 years, I think some of that might be the fact that other guys who are listed as point guards aren't really – they're just guards. So if we're talking who's the best pure point guard, I think he can ascend to that because the guys that you're going to name with him, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, those guys – aren't pure point guards. They're guards. They just go out there and do their thing. So if we're going to break it into positions, that could possibly happen.
And the other thing with that is even with Rondo, like a guy like Rondo can ascend the ladder a little bit. But Rondo can't shoot and he doesn't care that that he can't shoot because he's not going in the gym and work on it. John Wall wants to be good. John will never be a pure knockdown shooter, but I think that he will put the effort in to get his jumper where it's respectable, and he can at least in conversations point at Rondo and say, "Well, I don't look like him shooting."
Mason Kidd is like the all-time leader in three-pointers made, ain't he?
I see. That's where I see John Wall going. I see him following a Jason Kidd trajectory with his jumper.
And I think with Jason Kidd having that record, like nobody out there still
even remembers
thinks that. No, people still not going to say Jason Kidd is a shooter. Like, just took a lot and ended up making a lot. But all right, so quick question for you guys with the stuff that we talked about in the East, the Wizards and their inconsistency, the Bulls with their injury problems, the fact that Atlanta, is 48-12 and no one still believes in them, and they're giving Dominique statues like they've never won anything with them. Do you guys think that the Cavs, who have been just beating the shit out of teams lately, do y'all think the Cavs are gonna come out of the East?
Yo, I respect.
Atlanta Hawks fans, how do you get called out by Josh Smith and have people take Josh Smith's side? That you're bandwagoners. Like, how are you that blatant bandwagoners where people are ready to jump on Josh Smith's side?
Yo, Josh Smith is making shots in the first half and telling the crowd to shush, and then to see his face when Atlanta came back.
He had the Joel Embiid face.
That's why you shut up until the end of the game.
I want to respect, for the love of the game of basketball, man. I really respect what Atlanta is doing, what they put together, yo. Jeff Teague, you ugly as shit, man, but you can ball, dog, and you doing it.
Damn.
Kyle Korver, I've always loved Kyle since he came in the league. He does what he does. He's better at other things outside of shooting, although you wouldn't know it. Damari Carroll, man, he's balling. He's a utility guy. Horford, Millsap, yo, they got a great thing going, yo. But this is a game of star power, man. And if the Cavs got to play the Hawks, they're going to bludgeon. They're going to run up in them and take all of their money out of their pockets. And LeBron, see, that's one of those games where LeBron is such a front runner. LeBron's going to be on the sidelines waving the towel and jumping all around and moving his body and getting excited because there's going to be no pressure on him. He's playing the Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
But now when he sees James Harden, he's going to get a little bubbly in the guts. He's going to miss some free throws. So it's all about it's just the Hawks don't have that star. They're the Hawks.
Oh, shout out to Phil from Tissue and the Tape, because when he called into the show, to our podcast, we were talking about Dominique. He said the Hawks. He said being the greatest player in Hawks history is like being the GOAT of the eighth seed. They're like the greatest eighth seed ever. So if they do end up getting this one seed, I don't know.
I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I would love to see this team concept be rewarded, but I agree with you, B. I think at this point, the Cavs are on a trajectory like the 2010 Miami Heat, where you put all of this talent together. It takes a while for the talent to blend, and when the chemistry comes, then the Eastern Conference especially is just in trouble.
Yo, they would beat the shit out of the Hawks.
I have a minor concern about the Hawks and a major concern about the Hawks. The minor concern is that if the Indiana Pacers get the 8th seed, and with Paul George back, I think that is a terribly scary series for the Hawks, and I don't think they want any parts of an 8 seed Indiana. And I would be shocked if that series didn't go 7 games, and I don't know that I would actually know who would win before the series starts.
Wasn't it the Hawks scaring the Pacers last season?
Right, exactly.
Now it's going to be
the reverse. That Paul George is my guy. I want him. I don't even want him to come back. I want him to rest it, because there's no one in the league that scares LeBron more than Paul George.
I'm a Paul George fan too, but I want him to come back just for what Frank said, just to see how that's going to shake out. But see, I'm double talking though, because I do want to see the Hawks do well, but I like compelling storylines.
The more major concern for the Hawks though is, like we've seen with the Indiana Pacers and so many teams before them, whether you want to go to Jordan's Bulls, all of them, is that you have to go through some growing pains as a unit. And if that team gets to the Eastern Conference Finals, against the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's just going to be one of those things we've just seen again and again throughout history, is that you don't have guys that have been there on that stage in that moment, and then you're facing LeBron James, who has won 2 titles, who knows this situation. This is just another Eastern Conference Finals for him, whereas it's your first go around. So if they can keep this core together, I think next year, and they're young. You know, they're a younger team. It's not like they have old. I mean, Millsap's a little up there, but he's not like crazy old. I don't know his age offhand. I think he's in his late 20s or late 20s.
Yeah, late 20s. No, late 20s. He's not.
But you know, they have a core that they can keep for 3-4 years, and they can do it. You know, if they keep it long term. But this year,
just not now.
Right.
They're just not ready.
I'm picking LeBron James 10 times out of 10, and I have no confidence in it.
You know what it is, though, Frank?
He's 30. He just turned 30.
It's not even just LeBron. Kyrie has a little bit of that gene in him where he's going to take Jeff Teague personal, and he's going to give Teague the work of his life. And then I think Kevin Love and Paul Millsap are a washout because the way Kevin Love has been playing. I think Kevin is better than Paul Millsap.
But this is third fiddle Kevin.
I'm not sure.
This is third fiddle Kevin.
Third fiddle Kevin isn't going to get a chance to get off against top-notch Paul Millsap. And then LeBron is the difference maker because LeBron versus DeMar Carroll and Kyle Korver is both at the same time.
Well, I mean, that's one of their bigger problems, too, is they really don't have somebody that can defend LeBron James.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Millsap's not quick enough. DeMar Carroll's not big enough. You know, so they have all these, you know, they don't have that wing guy. Right. And that's what a lot of people have said at the deadline. You know, they didn't want Atlanta to make a trade because they had such a good unit going, but they needed a wing. They needed a Nicholas Batum, let's say. They needed somebody that, here, take LeBron. You know, we need somebody that's going to bother him. And they don't have that guy. So that's a huge problem. You know,
I could see
specific of the series.
Frank, you know who I could see beating the Cavs? Funny, and it's not because they're a good team and not because they would do anything else. The Heat can beat the Cavs.
Yeah.
The Heat can beat the Cavs.
Oh, I'd like to see that matchup just for obvious reasons.
Luol Deng
can defend
all-star when LeBron is around. He doesn't do anything else, but he will be an all-star around LeBron.
Without Bosh.
Oh, never mind. Yeah.
All right, man.
Strike everything I just said.
Let's end it on this one, man. Russell Westbrook has been taking the NBA by storm in the past few weeks. I mean, he's having a great season all around. He's had to take up a lot of the slack for an injured Kevin Durant for a good portion of the season. Let me read you guys his statistics from his last 5 games, the first 4 being all triple-doubles, 4 in a row. Versus Indiana, 20 points, 10 assists, 11 rebounds. Against Phoenix, 39 points, 11 assists, 14 rebounds. Against Portland, 40 points, 11 assists, 13 rebounds. You see the trend, like the triple-doubles are getting more monstrous as they go up. Against Philadelphia, 49 points, 10 assists, 16 rebounds. And then in this 2-point defeat to Chicago, 43 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds. You know, and Russ, you know, and at the end of that game, he wasn't too flattering with his his shot selection, his play selection, but they're not even in that game without the way that he's playing. What's up with Russell Westbrook right now? What message is he trying to get across, or is this just Russell taking up the slack because Kevin Durant's gone, or is he trying to put his nuts on the league? Just,
I think it's a little bit of both. Like the Austin said. I mean, I always find that I'm like the Russell Westbrook hater, and like every time everybody's hyping him up, I'm always hating on him. But and I don't want to hate by any means because what he's doing is incredible.
So
but people need to slow down. People always all right. So I've already seen this conversation: is Russell Westbrook better than Kevin Durant? So why do we have to have this conversation based on we didn't have this conversation 5 games ago, and now we got to have this conversation. And it happens every season. It happens with Paul George. It happened with Kawhi Leonard. It happens every season. We always got to hype this guy up. Like now he's the 3rd best player in the NBA. He's the 2nd best player in the NBA. Just this is the saying. You know, if anybody is on Twitter, everybody knows the social media saying. Let Russell be Russell. Just let him do what he does. You know, let him be great and just let him blossom. You know, I always said that if Russell Westbrook got his own team, it would either be a disaster or it would be incredible. And I think, you know, we've seen both We've seen both sides of it. I think
Yeah.
when Kevin Durant has been out, we've seen Russell Westbrook just go into full hero mode, and it turn out good, where he gets 5 straight triple doubles, and we've seen it turn out bad, where he's taken like pull up threes because he knows nobody else is going to take a shot on the team. So what the hell does he care? What is he going to do? Pass it to Anthony Morrow?
Yeah,
I think you see that, and it's incredible what he's doing. It's unprecedented. I mean, aside from Jordan, who did it, 7 straight triple doubles. I mean, we've never seen in the modern era somebody do what Russell Westbrook is doing, and it has to be commended.
Yeah, especially from his position, even though position really doesn't matter with him, I don't think. But I agree about certain conversations don't need to be had. I think during a run like this, of course, you have to have conversations about him. You have to talk about Russell Westbrook and maybe his place, his rank, maybe in the NBA as a whole. But I agree, you don't have to have is it his team? Is it Kevin Durant's team? Which one of these guys is better? I agree that conversation doesn't really need to be had because
and it's a media conversation. That's because Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant seem to absolutely just love each other. Like they're their biggest fans. Like when they were giving Russell Westbrook the MVP chance, Kevin Durant was like, louder. I need to hear it. Because they want each other to succeed because they know that each other succeeding is their way to success. They know that they can't succeed without one another. But it's just the media trying to create ripples.
I love it. I respect it, and I would like to quote a great writer. Russell Westbrook is killing these earthlings. Y'all hating because he dresses like a homosexual orangutan from Saturn, and he looks like he has an exoskeleton with a Skeletor mask. We can talk about IQ. We can talk about having IQ, which is very important. But in the moments when it's time to pull your nuts out and put them on the chopping block, much like Michael Jordan shot it. We can point to the exceptions of when he passed, but you all know why he was there and what he came to do, just like Russell Westbrook. Kobe's even worse. Kobe takes terrible shots, and they go in. And he, to a much higher degree, is Russell Westbrook. I'm quoting myself. That's really the whole point.
Bielsa's out of pocket today.
But
reading his own social media posts.
The point that I'm making here is much like yours, Frank. Let's enjoy Russell Westbrook for being Russell Westbrook. The comparisons are unnecessary. LeBron is the best player in the world. Kevin Durant is probably number 2. And behind that, honestly, talent-wise, it's probably Anthony Davis. And then, we've got a menagerie of guys. We've got, James Harden, who's having, besides Russell Westbrook, is having probably the best season in the league right now. So we've got Steph Curry. We've got a ton of young NBA stars to really enjoy and appreciate. The comparisons are natural. They're going to happen. We live in a sensationalist culture, so we're going to make these dumbass comparisons. Even us, so it could be double speak on our part because we're going to do a WRS versus, and that may be it. Let's compare them. But to be honest, just enjoy Russell. You get to see an ugly cat go off, and then after the game, look at his clothing. But you can't hate because he just dropped 40, 40, and 40.
Yeah, the relevant conversation to be had is where does this put Westbrook in the MVP race? I'm willing to have that conversation because
top 4
single-handedly just basically lifting the OKC. Right, he's got to be in the conversation now. Before he
top
was
3. Top 3.
Before it was really right. It was Steph, Harden, LeBron. That was really the race. But I think Russell Westbrook has easily catapulted himself into that conversation, and I would probably put him
second. Real talk.
I was going to say second too. I was going to say
I'm gonna get hate. I'm gonna get hate. I'm gonna get hate, but I'm always gonna get hate because I'm gonna point to every LeBron flaw there is. Even though I acknowledge that he's the best in the world, LeBron took a vacation in the middle of the season, and damn it, I'm not with that. So to me, LeBron is third. Harden is playing. The second, the best player on the Houston Rockets roster is busy grabbing people's nards on the sideline. Like he gets no help. He does this by himself, and when he does decide to pass, do you see what Terrence Jones and Josh Smith do in crunch time when he's passing? Like, it's disgusting. He's by himself. So I give it to Harden, and then I go Russell Westbrook. Because
That's my
Russell
order.
does.
I
Russell,
probably put Steph third, and then LeBron fourth. That's my order.
No, I put Steph fourth, and LeBron got to go third. Yo, because LeBron, he flipped the switch. We can hate on him for doing it, which I will, because it's disrespectful to the game. But at the same time, I have to recognize.
To turn that switch off in the first place.
Yeah, to turn it off, like, you're disrespecting the game. But then I have to respect it and recognize that this guy can turn a switch on, and look what happens. Like, he does what he wants.
Well, let's get out of here with that. Everybody out there, y'all know the deal. Make sure you subscribe to the page so you know every time we got a video coming out. But we like you guys to get involved, so make sure you click the like button on the video. But most importantly, leave some comments. Let us know your thoughts to everything that we touched on today. The Blazers without Wesley Matthews, the Bulls without Butler and Rose. What the hell is wrong with the Washington Wizards? Will the Cavs end up winning the East now? What's your thoughts on Russell Westbrook's assault on the league? And who's your top candidate for MVP right now? So make sure you leave all of that in the comment section. Tell us where you think we're wrong. Tell us where you think you agree. And we'll get the dialogue started.
We're never
Make
wrong.
sure you guys go to sports-kings.com. Check out everything they got going on there. And if you're a basketball head, which you might be when you're watching, because you're watching this video in particular, make sure you click on that Pass the Pill tab, and you'll see everything they have going on about basketball. Make sure you go to WoodlandSports.com to check out everything we got going, the podcast network, the YouTube channel, everything. Just click on stuff. Don't be lazy. And make sure you get that Woodland Sports app as well, because you can look at Woodland Sports and Sports Kings videos right there on your phone from your app. So, as we always tell you guys, when we leave you, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance. See you chumps on top.
Yo, Booze, hit me up.
I was going to say that.
He was waiting.
I don't want to see no chumps. I don't want to see no chumps on top.
I just see you chumps on the middle rung when you're going up, coming down.
Wait, it's the war room with